Welcome, everyone. It's Coach Stefan Rudolph checking in again from Recovered Coaching. And I've got a great guest here for you today. As you all know out there, as you've been following my videos and interviews and podcast interviews on the 2020 Vision Quest here at Recovered Coaching, we have great interviews with people that have overcome obstacles in life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, talking about their journey, their life, what they've gone through, what they've grown through. So we have a great guest here, Jennifer Mason. We share a lot in common because she has overcome epilepsy and wants to talk about her story. And I want to hear more and get out there to whether it's epileptics, people going through the journey in life and having medical conditions that they can't overcome, especially with prescription drugs, and you're stuck in a funk. And that's exactly what both of us went through and found a more holistic way to get out of it. So I'd like to introduce Jennifer. Hi, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
Doing great. Great to have you on board here, and want to hear more about your story. So tell us, what you've gone through, what you've been through, what you've grown through. Tell us from the beginning, what's going on.
All right. So my story in regards to epilepsy and overcoming it started when I was 15, and I was diagnosed with seizures right before it was time to drive. So that was scary at the time, but I ended up being put on Depakote right away, and that helped me, which is awesome in the fact that it did help me, and I was able to start driving and go on about my life without too much trauma at that time. And but I did know, even though I didn't have any of it, didn't seem to be affecting me mentally at the time. Plus I was a teenager, who knows what was affecting me mentally. But I did know the ramifications physically with these drugs on the internal organs and the liver and all this type of stuff. So I decided when I was right before I turned 18 or right at 18, something around there, I completely just quit taking my medication. And I ended up getting seizures back and that type of thing. And then I started having this really strong, intense feeling of like mind over matter, and I can overcome this, and I'm going to do this, and I know it's possible, and I'm going to find it, and that type of thing. And so what ended up happening, which is that my seizures really progressed and got quite a bit worse, a lot more severe. They started happening a lot more, and that type of thing. So it's like the harder that I tried, the worse that they became.
Right. What you resist persists, right?
Yes, and that's frustrating if you don't get that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just ended up living with seizures and, trying to do the best I can with that for a while, and kind of gave up on, at some point I started to give up on that idea of mind over matter and that type of thing. But then I got pregnant, and I didn't have seizures when I was pregnant.
Oh, wow. So they went away, huh?
They went away, and that was fantastic. I was really grateful because I was worried about the ramifications of having a seizure when you're pregnant with the baby,
Right.
that type of stuff. So that was awesome. And then I had that thing in the back of my mind going, are they going to come back after I had the baby? Are they going to come back or not? And, am I good to go? Am I cured? And there was all this question and some background of fear, in the background there, which of course they came back then.
Yeah, that's the fear, the false evidence appearing real, and it becomes real when we do things like that. This might happen, and that's what happened in your mind, right?
No, it's true. And you know what, actually, before I even had seizures, that was the one thing that I was terrified of. I was like, I bet you I could handle anything except for epilepsy. That looks awful. That looks scary. Like, heck no.
And it came on, right?
And then I got seizures. Like, that was weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, they did come back, and then I got pregnant again a few years later, and they went away again. So that's awesome. I was like, right on.
Yeah, that works.
Being good. This baby's going to be good as well. And then eventually, after I had him, my seizures, they came back again. And at this point, I'm just kind of dealing with it and living with it. I did start learning some awesome meditation techniques just, I was doing that to really work on myself, you know, consciously expanding my awareness of myself and that type of thing. But so I was starting to incorporate that at this time.
Okay.
But what happened is, and I wasn't doing that specifically for seizures, by the way. I was just started to work on meditation. But in the meantime, I was babysitting my nephew, who was a young baby at the time. And I was started to feel, oh, I'm going to have a seizure. I'm not right. And luckily, his cousin was there, and I was trying to get him to come and help me. But before he got there, I had a seizure, and he was laying back. I was laying down, and he was laying up on my knees right here. And my knees like came and just started scrunching him. And, you know, those seizures, and you really squeeze up so unconsciously. This baby was in between my knees and my thighs. And I was
Wow. And how old was he about?
He was probably, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 6 months. I don't really know. Probably more like 6 months, I imagine.
That was the eye-opening awakening for you, the experience right there of what could have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, because that made me, you know, it's just like, well, I can't put people's lives at risk.
Yeah.
And clearly, I put this baby's life at risk, and luckily his cousin was there and was able to get him out and that type of thing. So that's when I decided, I was like, well, I can't do that. So I need to go ahead and go back on medication.
Okay.
So after I quit taking it, was 17 or 18, and I'm in my probably mid to late 30s at this point.
Yeah, so like 15 years later, you just decided to get back on there, and that's probably Tegretol, Topamax, Depakote, Keppra, as all the epileptics know out there, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it was Keppra. That's what I got, and it did. It helped again with my seizures right away. But wow, that just turned me off. I turned into a zombie. I turned really numb. I couldn't think. Had that heavy cloud over my existence. You know, I was pretty unfunctionable. Just kind of
Yeah.
going to life on prescriptions.
Yeah, that's what I totally remember that. A lot of those medications, I could hear things in my mind the way I wanted to say them, but getting them out was another issue. And some people were like, you okay, right? It's the side effects of these things that things don't just come out the way they should. It slows you down, and it does help with the seizures, but if you can't function, it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah, like what's the point here?
Yeah, exactly, right?
To me, that was like, no, this is truly not a way to live life, and I refuse to live life like this.
Yeah.
So after 3 months, I took myself off medication again.
Okay.
I started having seizures, but then at this point, I started really getting into this practice of meditation quite a bit more and paying a lot more attention to it. And one of the things that I did end up doing, and I only amazingly had to do this for about 3 months, but I started taking, it's called Rick Simpson's cannabis oil. And Rick Simpson made cannabis oil based on helping people with cancer. And he helped thousands of people. And he takes the whole plant and makes this really thick cannabis syrup that's super potent. And you only take your dosage is like the size of a rice or half of a rice kernel.
Yeah.
It's really small, and then you're like, whoa.
So like one in the morning, one at night, and under the tongue, like that type of.
It's a little thick oil. It's a very thick oil, and I just took it under the tongue, and I pretty much only did it in the morning. I did it once a day.
Okay.
And between that and my meditation, I was really able to get myself so I didn't even need to take the oil anymore.
Yeah.
Then I just kept sticking with my meditation and sticking with that, and my seizures have never come back.
So that's a big part of it too. That's where I really connect with you and your story, and I think others out there when they hear meditation. So you mentioned it in your younger years, you didn't really pay attention. You started meditating, but just to feel better, but not knowing it was going to help with the epilepsy, right?
Well, and I still didn't know when I was spending so much, you know, putting so much into it, I had no idea that that was going to be the side effect until one point, actually, I in a vision, I had the awareness that if I really were to hone in on this, that this would cure my epilepsy. And I
Yeah.
haven't had a seizure for a few years now.
Yeah, you didn't have a cognitive intuition, but inside, subconsciously, intuition was there to do something like that, right?
Yes, yes. And it saved me. It really
Yeah.
saved me. So
Yeah, and
then,
some of these stories are very much related because the medication that I was on, every time toward the end, I had surgery in 2007, but then 4 or 5 years later, it was so many side effects. I mean, my lifestyle was not conducive, but I started having seizures again, so I had to get back on medication in 2009. But after so many years of that medication, the side effects were horrific. And I couldn't even, I just couldn't feel like taking this anymore. Every time I did, I just felt sick. And it was
yeah,
like my body, kind of the same way you're telling yourself, this doesn't feel right anymore, right?
right. And you know in your body that not to take something, you know how it affects you negatively. And if that's the case, then there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Now, do you still take the Rick Simpson oil?
No, I only needed to take it for that 3 months.
Okay. And
I
so how
still
long?
have it in my fridge for a few years.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, when was your last seizure that you remember?
I don't know. It had to be at least, had to be 3 years ago at least,
Okay. Do you ever
which
get
is
any?
awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So the epilepsy's gone, no medication, just you're focused. What would you say your daily routine is for following a healthy path? It involves meditation, right? And what else?
I do meditation, and what's also really beneficial and helpful for me, and I think for pretty much everybody, is yoga.
Right.
Yoga will help because that also helps take, you know, the energy and move it through your body and that type of thing. And that's similar to what I discovered with these practices of meditation with seizures, is you're actually taking that chaotic storm that's firing off in your brain, and through your breath and through just your awareness, you're able to calm that down, and you're creating the proper channel openings for that energy to come through. And so it never needs to fire off. You know, it has a proper flow instead of getting blocked up. Our nervous systems can get blocked up, or, you know, other systems such as hormonal systems, or, you know, everybody's got their different things, but this clears that pathway through your nervous system. So the
Right.
energy is able to not only move through you, but then you don't have the seizures, which is awesome. And then you start becoming more and more and more self-aware, and you start to become more aware of triggers or of seizures earlier on. So then you can start taking care of it earlier and go kind of into that meditative state, or whatever you need to do, lay down, take a walk in nature, have
Right.
some cannabis, whatever it is, right? So your teacher turns on.
Yeah.
And
And
you,
that's
I know
interesting because here's what I like to do, the example of I'm feeling better about myself. So we're talking about two different entities and people, right? And if you point to yourself, where do you point? Everyone, when we do this, point to yourself. And if you ask, I've done this in school talks that I've done. I say, kids, point to yourself, and they all point to their heart. So, where am I at? What am I doing? We go like this. What am I doing with myself? Right? So you had to open up your heart. So, yeah. And you
that's
opened up your heart
beautiful.
to
I
listen,
love
right?
that.
hmm It gets the kids thinking, it gets us thinking, and then the I and the me come together, myself and yourself. And that's what it sounds like you became aware, right?
Yes. Oh, I love the way you stated that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm going to be borrowing that.
Out for everybody out there, just waking up to their own self. And that's
Yes.
really great because I know, and of course we don't push like people that, especially epileptics that are on medication. And again, I was in pharmaceutical sales in my past, sold the drugs, but these drugs can help, they will help, but at the same time there's so many side effects. Don't a lot of them say may cause death, of all
Yeah.
things. So we
Yes.
have to find a way to open up, like you have, open up your mind and your heart and become more aware, right?
Yes. And it's not only possible, but it's very possible and even probable that you are going to have effects when we start paying attention to ourselves and meditating and calming things down. And we're able to get control of like the stresses. You know,
Right.
stress is a huge, huge factor with as a trigger, right?
Yeah.
Or being able to get control. I know for you, there was the alcohol, that type of thing. So there's that addiction feeling that's very hard to overcome. So through these practices, it gives you more of that power and strength.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I noticed, and I'm happy because you're definitely another reflective story about this, is that not only have I been able to take all of that energy and rechannel it and start turning on my inner teacher and being able to start learning more and more from my own awareness, but my intuition and all these other kind of, I guess, superpowers started, opening up and flourishing. And for you, what I think about when I listen to your story and you speak is like when you overcome your addiction and you're using these different self-awareness things. That's a really powerful, you're taking that power and you're able to ignite it in yourself and flourish. And that's why it's so wonderful to meet you and have this conversation.
And just connect with like-minded people like yourself and others out there that are listening that will see this, or just come across information like this that know that they can open their mind and things can change. Because a lot of us, as we get addicted to the prescriptions, it was the placebo effect. I was blown away by that statistic when I sold antidepressants, and one statistic said 27% of people got better on placebo. And then, 46% got better on the drug that I sold. And it blew my mind, like almost 30%, a third of people got better by just thinking they're doing something. And that's when I was on all the medications, I felt better even taking the pill. I could feel my seizure issue go away. That's kind of when I became in tune. And yeah, a lot of it was just this, that small mole is called the aura would go away, and I would feel better. And I know it couldn't absorb that fast. It was like in my stomach, but it wasn't absorbed. It wasn't broken down yet. It just started going away, and I was blown away by that, becoming aware.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. So a lot of this comes together for more about you and what you do for people. Now you're coaching, you're helping people. Tell others out there what you do, how you can help them.
Yeah. So because of this process, and I have learned so much about how to use these techniques of breath and visualization and how to incorporate that going into the body and relaxing. This is like for example, one meditation. When I work with you, we would get together and I do a guided meditation on showing you how to use your breath and how to go through your whole body and calm your body down, calm the muscles down, calm your nervous system down, even using your mind to relax like all the atoms and cells and just go into like a really deep state of calming everything down. That's like one thing that I do with people. And then there's, other aspects of when I give you these different techniques, well, then things come up for you and you have questions about it and you want to work through things. So I offer working with you one-on-one, or maybe even sometimes in a group setting if people want, but to really process through, okay, this is where you got to this step. Now here's the next step and here's how we're going to get there, and kind of like help go through the process of getting yourself to be more in control of yourself. And another thing that I do is the classes where you can just go online and kind of go through the steps yourself.
Right. Yeah, I'm really fired up about to learn more about the classes, because people doing it in coaching is good one-on-one, whether it's over the phone, over the internet nowadays. But really, some people out there need to do it themselves and have the classes that you'll have for them. Either it's recorded classes, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And they can go through it at their own pace and kind of just take steps and then meet with you, say once a week, kind of how life coaching goes in general. And that's your type of recovery coaching. And a lot of it involves, as you know, from epilepsy, depression, anxiety, stress, just being like that. in times that I didn't have a license for 3 years. My combination of alcoholism and epilepsy did not mix well. You know, DUI, no license, no registration, shouldn't have been driving because of the epilepsy, shouldn't have been driving because of the alcohol, but I was still just set in my addictive pattern of mindset, have to go to work, have to make money, and could have had a seizure any day. Luckily I didn't hurt anybody else, but it's scary out there what we go through, and we have to, the way I got out of it was like what you're saying, yoga, meditation, opening up, slowing things down. This monkey mind doesn't stop, right?
Yeah. So that's for sure. It's just like,
well, why don't you give our viewers your contact information and a way to get a hold of you if they have any questions. It'll be on here on Facebook, of course, too, links and stuff, but let them know any way to get a hold of you as well.
okay, so I think right now the easiest thing on here, I have my Facebook group, and it's called Seize Your Power, and it's SEIZ/URE/power. So it's Seize Your Power, and that's my Facebook group. And if anybody wants to email me, you can email me at Fiery Mason, and that's FIERYMASON@gmail.
Okay, awesome. And you're doing wonderful out there and helping others grow and taking your life to the next level. So anybody, doesn't have to be with epilepsy in general, but sometimes, like I went through AA and they have Al-Anon, and I see there should be, and that's what we have to work on more, even you and I, Jennifer, is programs like Al-Anon for epilepsy, because my parents, what they went through, and family members, what they go through, you know, and what you had your seizure and could have hurt somebody else. I was in 2 epileptic car accidents that that's another thing, you know, it's a whole nother story. But when that happened to me, I needed someone to talk to, and that's me personally. But then also to see my mom going through this, family, you know, seeing me, it's horrible. It's really hard. So even people wanting to reach out don't have to have epilepsy, but get on your group and seize.
I work with caretakers of epileptics or people with seizures. Not even, I've worked with epilepsy and also people with non-epileptic seizures. It doesn't matter, and I think that's crucial to understand. And the other factor is just, you mentioned it, you know, I have also worked with people with all these things like you were talking about, anxiety, depression, overwhelming stress, and as well as bipolar. So all of these like mental, all of it is out of balance, and we can take any of these aspects and rebalance ourselves. And that's what the greatest gift of all of this is to be able to, and so you don't even, like we said, you don't even have to have seizures. You could be taking care of somebody and having seizures, you know, your mother or your child or something.
Right.
So,
yeah, and that's a big part of it. That's where my program in recovered coaching comes in. And when you said that imbalanced word, that's turning the imbalance to I'm balanced, the impatient to I'm patient, the same word, the impractical to I'm practical, all the same word, just a little apostrophe, changes the way that you view things in life by breathing. And that's the biggest first step, is technique and breathing. Everybody out there, use it at the stoplight, especially when you get there and you feel like honking at somebody. Just breathe. Start doing that, and you'll feel better.
Yes, you will. There's no doubt about it.
So awesome, Jennifer. Great speaking with you today. And again, all the information will be here on the Facebook page and the link here. So look forward to hearing back from anybody questions, and we'll grow from there.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me.
Sure thing.